Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lords of Football podcast. I am Seth Omega, and I am reminding you that this podcast is running longer than Brett Favre's professional football career right now. I am joined this evening by three good friends, and, we're going to talk about some football this week. We missed last week due to LK and his rectal bleeding, but that's all right. It happens. Shit happens. Bleeding happens. All that other good shit happens. But before we talk too much about LK's ass and its terribleness, we're going to talk more about football. So, kicking us off, we're going to throw it to Captain Macho Morn, the man of 1,000 faces and one voice. How you doing, Morn?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing fan-fucking-tastic. If I was any better right now, it'd be illegal. Technically, it's illegal now, but I don't give a shit. Anyways, next on the list is Slegna. What's going on, my man?
I've done jack shit all day.
Oh, dude, that's fantastic. Isn't that like the best kind of life? It's just when you sit around doing nothing but scratching your nuts and watching porn. That's like the best life ever.
Something like that, yeah.
Anyways, speaking of porn, watching, scratching your nuts, and doing all the above, our last but not least finalist on the panel of football. He roots for the New Orleans Taints, the Judge.
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing tonight? All I gotta say is I hope this podcast goes a lot better than my day went. Almost failed a test, and I was in court all day writing notes. So yeah, I need to pick up.
Man, I know exactly how you feel. I've been in court all fucking day before, and that shit fucking sucks. Of course, I wasn't there writing. I was there listening to all the shit I did wrong, but that's beside the point. Anyways, yeah, you think it's funny, but I was being fucking for real. That's what makes it so damn funny. Anyways,
oh man.
So we're going to start off with some NFL football because college season's pretty much over. We'll get to a little bit of college a little bit later with more opinions. The first thing we're going to talk about today tonight rather, is a big time game. It's at a conference. It's between two teams that really have kind of hit the wall. Well, at least one of them was supposed to. The other one had not. The mighty Texans of Houston and their third-string quarterback, T.J. Yates, out of the University of Butch Davis, North Carolina. And they're going up against the Cincinnati Bengals, who, as of late, have really not played well against teams better than them. Sounds kind of stupid, but that's the way it is. Anyways, this game has huge playoff ramifications. If the Bengals lose, and the Titans should win, the Titans would move up in the playoff race. If the Bengals win and the Titans win, then the Titans move up in the AFC South race. If the Titans lose and either the Bengals or the Texans win, then obviously they move up in either the wild card and or the AFC South race. So obviously it's a huge game for a lot of reasons. I want to know who you think is going to win and why. And we're going to start with Andrew. Tell us why who is going to win is going to win.
Okay. Cincinnati, like you said, has not been putting on a good showing as of late. We can attribute that to their schedule just being ramped up. They've had 2 games against Pittsburgh the past 4 weeks, Baltimore, and they barely eked one out against Cleveland. Houston, they lost Matt Schaub, then they lost Matt Leinart, and but they won last week against Atlanta, so I think they're going to win this week. And does that lock up the AFC South for them? Depends on how Tennessee does, I suppose.
Houston can lock up the AFC South if they win.
Right now they have a 2-game lead over Tennessee, but they also have the tiebreaker. They still have one more game against Tennessee in Week 17.
Yeah, they can lock up the AFC South if they win and Tennessee loses. That's the way, because that would be a 3-game deficit, and
even if Tennessee wins their last 3, or actually it depends, because I don't
Well,
think.
if Tennessee wins their last 3, Houston would have to lose one more, but it's a fucked up playoff race. Basically, it's the points for and
Houston,
against.
basically, if Houston wins, they essentially lock up the AFC South, not definitively, but close to it.
Yeah.
And I think Houston takes this one. There was a notable drop-off in offensive production with Leinart 2 weeks ago against Jacksonville, and last year with Yates against Atlanta. But you can never count out Arian Foster, and Arian Foster is going to carry them once again. Let's go 21-20. I think it'll be a close one, but I still think Houston pulls it out.
Right. I could see that, because Houston does have Arian Foster and that strong power running game that they have, and they still have a pretty good defense, even though it's kind of mixed and matched and more fucked up than a soup sandwich. It's to me, I think the Bengals are going to win. And the reason I say this is they come in a little bit healthier than Houston, because Houston just lost Andre Johnson again with another hamstring injury. So now TJ Yates has nobody to throw to. If you watch his game last week, one of the best passes he threw was to Andre Johnson, and it looked really nice. I would not be surprised if TJ Yates did something in the NFL sooner or later. Maybe not yet, but sooner or later. The thing about Cincinnati that appeals to me in this game, if I'm not mistaken, the game, for one, is in Cincinnati. That's one big thing. And another thing that really appeals to me about this game is Cincinnati has something to prove. And what I mean by that is, if you think about it, Cincinnati's like the redheaded stepchild, and in Andy Dalton's case, literally the redheaded stepchild. But Cincinnati's the redheaded stepchild to the two better teams, the Ravens and the Steelers. And to me, this game is the one game they could play where they say, look, we are not just the bitch of the AFC North. We are a legitimate football team, and we're here to play. And I think the connection between A.J. Green and Andy Dalton is amazing. Everybody wants to rant and rave and give Andy Dalton the Rookie of the Year votes. I don't think he deserves it more than A.J. Green, because A.J. Green has picked up that team and carried them on his back. The guy's phenomenal. I think Cincinnati wins this, and I think they win it because they have more of a deep threat with A.J. Green, and they also have Jermaine Gresham, the tight end, and both of those players are good in the clutch situations. I think they find a way to pull it out. I'm going to say 24-14. From there, we'll go to the judge on his analysis of it.
Actually, you were spot on. Not with your prediction, but with the AJ Green and Andy Dalton scenarios. And I don't think the Bengals are really the bitch of the AFC North. I think that's reserved for the Browns. I do think, however, that the Texans will win this weekend. Not in convincing fashion, because as we've already stated, Yates is their quarterback. But I think Arian Foster is actually going to do pretty good against a decent Bengals defense. And I think the Texans cornerback, his name escapes me, but he came from Cincinnati. I think he's going to have a good game. I think he's going to cover Green pretty tight. And
Jonathan Joseph.
I couldn't remember if it was Joseph or Hall. I knew one of them left and one of them stayed.
Yeah, Jonathan Joseph left, and then Hall got injured.
Yeah, I got them mixed up. So anyway, I think the Texans defense will be able to stop the Bengals, and I think it's going to be maybe 24-14 Houston's way. Because that defense with Houston, it's kind of underrated. Wade Phillips completely turned it around, and they're for real. They're playing really good. And then what's really scary is next year they're going to bring back the same people, but they're also going to have Mario Williams back. And that defense is the way it's playing right now, and you add Mario Williams in that. This is a scary team for the future. They just got to stay healthy, and I think even without their top receiver, they'll still pick up the win, 24-14.
Yeah, I think the defense for Houston's extremely scary. The biggest problem with Houston right now is their salary cap situation. because, they got Brian Cushing, who's got that huge contract. Mario Williams is entering in a contract year next year. And D'Amico Ryans has that huge-ass contract as well. And all three of them are on the defense. So the defense really needs to step up and play well in the next 2 years for Houston to have a chance at the playoffs.
Yeah, if they don't win if they don't win this year or next year, I believe the Texans are going to fall right back to where they used to be in the cellar. Because, like you said, they're going to have to cut ties with at least one of them.
Well,
Possibly
not
two.
only that, but you also got to think Schaub's getting older.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember or forget that Schaub was drafted way back in.
Yeah, by Atlanta.
Yeah, he was drafted by Atlanta way back when, and if I'm not mistaken, he's 30 years old this year.
Yeah, maybe
So,
02, 03, 02, something
no,
like
it was the year Michael Vick got hurt, so it was 04.
that. 04, yeah.
And he got drafted, and he came up through the ranks that way, and then got traded to Houston, made Houston phenomenal. But that's not here nor there. They could deal with that when the time comes. We still got to get Morin's prediction on this game. Go ahead, Morin.
Yeah, it's as it says on the from a blog from ESPN.com. Officially, if Houston wins, Tennessee loses, Houston will lock up the division. So basically, it's win 2 games or win 1 and hope that Tennessee loses just 1 game. It's rather simple there. This game doesn't seem to be very fluid. It's one team that doesn't seem to know it's in a playoff race, and the other team that seems doesn't realize that it's not supposed to be where it's at right now, losing all these pieces. So I want to say Cincinnati wins this because they have to win this game, and that's where I normally go. But I just don't see them having this urgency ever about them to win these games. And they make critical mistakes that push them out of the game. So I'm going to go with Houston 24-17.
Yeah, Houston's a very popular pick for a lot of reasons. I just think losing Andre Johnson's the straw that broke the camel's back. I think the system has been really good to Arian Foster, and I don't want to take anything away from Arian Foster because he's a phenomenal young man. But he didn't do much at the University of Tennessee to start off with. And if you guys can remember back to that time, there was a running back that came from the Louisiana State University named Dominique Davis, who excelled in the Houston Texas offense running the football. And, it's like, where is he now? So I'd like to say that even though Arian Foster is playing extremely well over the last couple of years, I don't think Arian Foster is enough to carry this team single-handedly. He may prove me wrong. Truthfully, I'm hoping for a tie ball game because I hate both the Bengals and the Texans right now. Maybe the Texans more so than anyone else because they actually had the division lead that I want, but that's not here nor there. We'll talk about that later. Next game on the list.
Before we go to that really quickly, I just want to mention Andre Johnson was out earlier this year. He was out in the game against, the Houston game against Oakland and Baltimore, as well as Tennessee. They lost to Oakland and Baltimore, but they did beat Tennessee rather convincingly. So
They did.
They have lost games without Johnson in the lineup, but they have also won that game. And Johnson isn't even their number one target. I mean, once again, it varies from quarterback to quarterback, but you still have a good running back who can catch with Arian Foster and Ben Tate as well. And Owen Daniels from the tight end position has also been catching a lot of balls. He's their leading receiver in receptions and yards this year. So yeah. I wouldn't completely count out the Texans passing game here, even with the third string quarterback, even with Andre Johnson out.
Yeah, I wouldn't count them out, but
maybe that was wrong terminology there. But I'm just saying, just because Andre Johnson's out does not mean that Houston's hopes to win this game are blown all to hell.
I don't think so, but I think their hopes to go deep are more blown to hell. I mean, it's hard to go deep without that big time guy to stretch the field. And TJ Yates did target Andre Johnson quite a bit last week. So obviously there's, of course, I'll be honest, if I was playing quarterback for the Texans, I'd target Andre Johnson too.
For sure. I mean, but this just means that they're going to have to play smarter. They're going to have to, run the ball. They're going to have to spread the defense, run screens on the outside.
Yeah, but
use good blocking
defense,
schemes.
this defense has been playing insane though. I mean, to me, like I said, I kind of want to see Houston lose, but I also kind of want to see Cincinnati lose because it's going to be hard for Tennessee to get the wild card berth or to get the division title. They would have to I think they would have to win out starting now, which is possible. I think they can, and I think they will win out starting now, but
who do they have left?
New Orleans, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Houston. So, I mean, New Orleans is obviously a tough game, but
I still have them going 10 wins, but I don't know if they get this week, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Before we talk too much about the playoffs. Playoffs? I'm just hoping we can win a game. Anyways, that was my Jim Mora impression. Not Jim Mora Jr. My impression of him is, I don't know if I'd take that job. I mean, it would be a dream job, but I don't know if I'd take it. I might take it if the money was right and then get fired from his current job. Funny story. Anyways.
You mean Seattle? Oh, that was fun.
No, well, his dream job was wasn't his dream job in Washington? He was talking about taking the job in Washington when he was the coach of the Falcons.
Yes, I know.
It was absolutely hilarious. I felt so bad for the Falcons sometimes, and then I realized they're the Falcons, and I fuck them. They can go to hell. They can kiss my ass, lick my nuts, tickle my pickle. Anyways, I'm sad that
tickling pickles. Judge, do you have any statements to make?
Oh god damn. Not cool.
No, he doesn't. Okay, I thought you want everybody to know.
Anyways, back on topic. We're going to talk about our favorite rectal bleeders team. The Dallas Cowgirls are going to take on the New York Not So Giant this weekend, and what should be a compelling game. Last week, New York made a very interesting case versus Green Bay. And, Dallas, up until last week, has been playing like a house on fire. So, I'm going to go ahead and throw it to Macho Morn. His analysis on the Cowgirls and the almighty Giants.
I really think that, personally, I want the Cowboys to win this game for greedy reasons only, for fleeting playoff hopes. But in all honesty, I don't see the Cowboys recovering from that. That was a horrific loss to the somehow still in the playoff race Cardinals. I don't think they're really in it, but they think they are. And it was a good matchup for them last week. People have forgotten that the Cardinals are actually turning around their defense. So maybe the Cowboys' loss for them wasn't the worst loss in the world, but the Giants have to have some sort of confidence coming out of that game against possibly the greatest game that greatest team they will face this year. And so the Giants come into this game hot and ready for this matchup against the Cowboys team reeling from an inexplicable loss. Is it at home or is it no, it's at Dallas. So Giants play better on the road.
One of these teams will be at home.
Yeah, well, of course. It's at the Cowboys, which the Giants play better on the road for some weird reason. I just see the Giants pulling this one out, even though I don't want them to.
Yeah, here's the thing about the Giants. The Eli Manning, somebody must have called and told him that his brother wasn't going to show him up this year because he's been playing like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. And he's been hitting all the right spots like a fucking male porn star. I ain't even playing now. I mean, he fucking nails crews down the middle. He nails his tight ends. I mean, he does all these awesome fucking passes that normally Peyton does. And the Giants just find a way despite all their injuries. I honestly think, though, the Cowboys have more reason to win this game. And that reason is if they don't win a division soon, I would not be shocked if Jerry Jones fired every last one of those motherfuckers. So I'm going to say the Cowgirls win. I'll say the game's like a really bad Washington Redskins Buffalo Bills game. We'll go 15-12. Go ahead, Slagna. Let's see what you got.
Manny's been playing great this year, but at the same time, they've dropped 4 straight. Keep in mind that 3 of those, San Francisco, who's been on fire right now, New Orleans, and Green Bay, but they also dropped one to Philly, who's, we all know how Philly's been doing this year. Yes, it's division, and division games, especially in the NFC East, they're always heavy-hitting battles. They're always really tight. And Dallas has been a wild card all year. I mean, sometimes they decide to show up. Sometimes they decide to lose to Arizona. Or, quite frankly, get killed by Philadelphia. And, they did beat Seattle when Seattle was deciding to play. They show up occasionally. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be back and forth. DeMarco Murray's been running the hell out of the ball lately. But you also have, the Giants. You have Eli Manning, and he's been throwing to Victor Cruz, and not Mario Manningham. He's been injured. Hakeem Nicks a lot as well. So it should be, I'm guessing, going to be an offensive battle. Upper 20s for both teams, but it's going to be a close one. I think the Giants do pull this one out, though, stop their skid, and try and makes that NFC playoff race a lot closer. Why don't I go 31-28?
That's not bad. Like I said, I could see this game going for either team, but I think the pressure in Dallas is just overwhelming to the point where Jerry Jones, hell, he might call fucking June Jones in there just to do something. Because the Cowboys, I feel so bad for the Cowboy faithful. Because, honestly, the Cowboys, I like to think of the Cowboys as a fucking roller coaster. They're up, they're down, they're left, they're right, they're broke down half the time. And when Tony Romo punctures along, they beat the second best team in the NFC. Go fucking figure. They beat them in overtime at Candlestick, so, it's just like, what are they going to do next? And, I think that redemption is the key here. DeMarco Murray has been running really good. Also, they've snuck in Philip Tanner more and more on third downs. He went to some small school in Tennessee, really fast kid. And he's a decent back for an undrafted guy. On top of that, they just, they've got Dez Bryant, who I don't know where the fuck Dez Bryant came. Well, I know what school he went to and came from, but he's just been outstanding this year. He's made a lot of big plays for him, and it's really been fun to watch him. Like I said, I think Dallas can win, and I hope they do because, honestly, the Giants, I just hate everything Manning related for obvious reasons. Speaking of things Manning related and related to the state of Mississippi, we're going to throw it to our good pal, the Judge. Are you back yet, Judge?
I'm back. Yeah, I'm back, buddy. What's up?
You're talking about the Cowboys and the Giants. That's what you're going to do.
Giants win 31-14. I'll tell you why. Because Eli's playing like a goddamn football god right now. He's playing really good. In the game against Green Bay last week, he actually stayed on par with Aaron Rodgers for most of the game. And that's not some small feat. A lot of quarterbacks couldn't hang with Aaron Rodgers right now, but Eli held his own with a less talented team. And Dallas, I prefer to think of Dallas as the Bourne of the NFL, in a sense that, yeah, they do good, they look at stuff and they do their thing, but in the end they're just severely overrated, and Actually, that was a bad analogy. I'm just being stupid. But the Cowboys I don't know what the problem with them is. They have so much talent, but they just can't put it together. And I think they get embarrassed at home in the house that Jerry built. And the Giants roll. And ultimately, they're going to win the division. I said that earlier in the year, and I'm sticking to it. So, that's where I'm kind of at on this whole thing.
That's okay. We can forgive you for saying something stupid. As a matter of fact, we've almost gotten used to it.
Yeah, well, make sure we edit it out, though, buddy.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. At
Also,
all.
I forgot to mention this because I was reading this on some fantasy football site. Miles Austin is reported to come back this week. I know he's had hamstring injuries all year, so I don't know if he'll be as explosive as we're accustomed to from him. But there's another weapon that Tony Romo has, and the Giants have been giving up passing yards they've been giving 29th in the league. And giving up passing yards. So there's just another weapon that Tony Romo has. I still think the Giants win, but that's just something else that the Giants have to contend with.
Right. I don't even remember who I picked to start off with, but whoever I picked, they're going to win. Andrew, who did I pick? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
I don't either. But
I think you said the Cowboys 15-12 or something.
Yeah, I remember I said 15-12, but I don't remember if I said Cowboys or Giants.
You had the opposite of me, which would have been the Cowboys.
Yeah, okay, so I did pick the Cowboys. But yeah, the Cowboys, like I said, if they had a quarterback, Cowboys could be in the Super Bowl. But that's what happens when you draft a quarterback from Walmart. I don't know. I think he went to some school in Illinois. But we're gonna pretend like it's Walmart. While Selegna looks it up.
He went to the same school
Illinois.
as Sean Payton. He went to the same school as Sean Payton.
Sean Payton made a great NFL quarterback.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Eastern Illinois, and yes, Sean Payton did go there. So did Mike Shanahan and Brad Childress.
Didn't Bart Scott go there, or did he go to Southern Illinois?
They're not showing up on Wikipedia, so it might have been Southern Illinois.
Trusting site for everything, Wikipedia.
Damn straight, motherfucker. Anyways, we're going to move on to the third NFL game that involves two very different teams. You have the New Orleans Saints versus the Titans of Tennessee. And for this analysis, we're going to go ahead and throw it to Judge to start us off with.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Better than most people think. And honestly, I think it's the game of the week in the NFL. And that's not just because my favorite team is the Saints. The Saints hadn't beat the Titans in this decade, since 2000, I don't believe. The last time I remember the Saints playing, the Titans playing the Saints was they came to the Dome on a Monday night and completely embarrassed us. Keith Bullock had like 50 interceptions. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but he was all over the field that night.
I remember that. It was 31-14.
Yeah, it was an utter
New
embarrassment.
Orleans played the Titans, and the Titans were like, hey, y'all, we're going to ball on you. And you were like, LOL, no way. And then we were like, oh, shit. And then,
Keith Bullock was all over the field. I mean, it was an embarrassment. And I'm trying to look. All right, so we played Tennessee twice since 2001, and both times they've beaten us. 27-12, and then 31-14. And one time was at the LP Field, and the most recent time was a Monday Night Football game in 2007. And this year, obviously, we're going to LP Field. The weather right now, don't look like it's going to be raining. It's just going to be cold. And Saints aren't a very good cold team, which is weird because Drew Brees, played college ball up north. So, I mean, he should be a good cold quarterback. But when he played the Bears in 2006, he didn't play too well. And we as a team didn't play well. But I think we'll beat Tennessee. And I'll tell you why. Because Chris Johnson is not, I don't know how to put it. I don't think Chris Johnson has a big game, and if if Tennessee Titans are going to win, they need Chris Johnson to get over 100 yards. And I know this is, me going against everything I've said all year about the Saints being terrible stopping the run, but I don't think he'll be able to, run real hard on us because I'll tell you why. Our biggest problem is tackling. What he does, he don't break many tackles. He just outruns people. Uh, so I think we'll be able to tackle him when we get a hold of him. Uh, Very similar to Maurice Jones-Drew. The only difference with that is Maurice Jones-Drew actually he breaks a couple tackles every now and again. But ultimately, I think it comes down to probably a 3-touchdown game, leaning the Saints' way. Probably 35-14 or 35-17. And I mean, it's not going to be an easy game. A lot of people are saying, I've seen a lot of people say the Saints are going to blow the Titans out, but that's just not the case. The Titans are actually really, really good at home over the last decade. I don't know the exact record, but I know when they first moved to the stadium, it was like the Monster or something. And they started out like 2 or 3 seasons without even losing a game at home. I mean, it was insane. They play really good at home. And but I think we'll get them, like I said, by 3 touchdowns, and it's going to be a lot closer on the field than the final score is going to indicate. And Drew Brees goes over 300 yards, continues on pace to break Dan Marino's record.
Right. Yeah, the Titans are, before the season started, they were 45-27 at LP Field, and they're 4-2 at LP Field this year. So that would be more like 49-29. And yeah, the Saints are very dynamic offensively. But I will say this. The Saints have been the Titans' bitch for the last decade. And you've touched on it. You said they played twice in the regular season. They played way back when, and it was 27-12. Then they played in 07, and it was 31-14. But they played like 3 or 4 times in the preseason. And every time they played in the preseason, the Titans starters have dominated New Orleans starters. And we just dominated that team overall. I think the Titans win in a close one, 21-17. And yeah, it's a homer pick. I'll go ahead and admit it. I fully believe in the Titans. And it's not just the Titans. It's Matt Hasselbeck. It's Chris Johnson. It's Nate Washington. It's the defense. I mean, this team is overachieving massively. If you look at the buildup of this team, this football team shouldn't have more than 3 wins this season. They're not that good. They're not that talented. They lost Kenny Britt. And right now, they're just playing on fucking fueled emotion. I mean, they have maybe 3 or 4 players that could be considered all pro. 3 or 4 players that you could honestly vote to the Pro Bowl right now.
They have
And
one of the best O-lines in football. Probably the best O-line in football. That's 5 All-Pros right there.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, Jake Scott, David Stewart, and
as a collective group, they have probably the best O-line in football. One of the best, at the very least.
I don't know. I don't like Eugene Amano. I think he's a horse's ass and doesn't play very well. And neither does Leroy Harris, for that matter. But beside the point, they got 3 good offensive linemen, but the offensive line hadn't played that well until the last couple of weeks, really. The last 4 weeks. Because Hasselbeck was getting hit, and Johnson wasn't getting his yards, and together they just weren't moving as a collective unit. I'll say this, though. Chris Johnson is back. I mean, I know that it sounds crazy, but if you've seen the way, like, he had 12 yards versus Atlanta, and he just didn't run very good because he kept getting tripped up at the line. But if you've seen the way he ran versus Tampa and Buffalo, it's so hard not to believe he's going to do the same thing to a slow Saints defense. And the Saints defense is slow. They're getting older. I mean, they're just not. when you match the Saints defense up against the Titans' massive offensive line, it's almost unfair because you guys got Jonathan Vilma, and that's about it. I mean, when Vilma gets pushed out the way, Johnson's going to break tackles and going to make people miss.
Yeah, because Sheehan is playing really good too, though. He's playing really good.
Yeah,
But
well,
the thing is,
the Saints are playing good just collectively,
the
but
thing is, I don't think Tennessee is going to be able to just sit back and run the ball. I mean, the Saints offense is going to pull ahead. They're not just going to score 21 points. They're going to pull ahead. And like I said, it's going to be a lot closer on the field than the score will indicate. But eventually when the Saints get that cushion and they just can pin their ears back, Tennessee's not going to be able to run the ball the whole time. They're going to have to start passing. And I mean, our DBs aren't great, but I think they can hang with a very average at best Tennessee receiving core without Kenny
yeah,
Britt.
I agree. The Tennessee receiving core is very average, but the Saints have to score first. And the way the Titans defense is playing, I don't see the Saints putting up huge numbers. And I don't. I mean, I know Drew Brees is like the fucking Mecca. He plays like ass on the road. He lost in Tampa. He lost in St. Louis. He lost in Green Bay. Overall, New Orleans is only scoring 24 points on the road. On top of that, Tennessee has one of the best home defenses. They've had one game at home this year. No, scratch it. They've had 2 games at home this year where they've given up more than 21 points. And that's it. They're a very good home defense. They're very good at running the ball now. It's going to be cold. New Orleans doesn't like the cold. I don't see it. I mean, I know Breeze is like a god and Peyton's like a god, but the Titans are not, they're not the team that you want to walk into Nashville and play right now, especially on this winning streak they got of 2 games. And I just think 21-17. And from there we'll go to Morn.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that the Titans defense is as good as it's been advertised as. I'm looking at the schedule and against teams that actually have a good offense, they don't do very well. For instance, Pittsburgh, they gave up 38. Houston, they gave up 41. Cincinnati gave up 24. Every other team they faced, Baltimore doesn't have a great offense. They have a good one, not a great one. Denver, no. Jacksonville, hell no. They get 14 of them, and that's like their season high. It's not as they're playing these offenses they're up against. They are playing a great offense. Buffalo without the running back. Tampa Bay is one of the worst offensive teams in football. This is not a great defense, and you're going up against, if not one of the premier offenses in the NFL in New Orleans, and I just don't see them holding them back. I'm not going to go blowout in the ramifications that Judge is predicting, but I'm going to say a 2-touchdown win.
Okay, let me ask you this. Does Tennessee have a better defense than Tampa Bay? And do they have a better defense than St. Louis?
St. Louis doesn't have anything.
And so, yes, they got a better defense than St. Louis. Do they have a better defense than Tampa Bay?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Because I'm just saying, I know, I see what you're getting at. They don't play well against good offenses. And to be fair, Houston was when they had Matt Schaub in. Also, Barrett Ruud and Cortland Finnegan were out for that game. Just going to throw that out there.
I can just go off of what I see here, and honestly, they've given up 17 points these last 3 weeks. That's not a great, at least 17. Sorry, each last 3 weeks. That's like average in the NFL.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not saying they're great. I'm saying they're better than the typical weak ass NFC
They're
South
average.
defenses. They're better than the defenses the Saints normally play.
I could argue that's wrong. I can argue that very quickly. Chicago, Houston is number 1 in the NFL.
Yeah, Houston's defense is good, and
they scored 40 on them.
and that game was in New Orleans, was it not?
Doesn't matter where it was. They're both indoor teams.
New Orleans cannot play on the road. That's what this game is coming down to. I'm telling you, it's going to get cold.
If you Atlanta,
that's not in cold weather. You stick.
They almost beat Green Bay.
That's not. It's not cold in Green Bay in freaking September.
I think it was like 58 or 65 that night.
Yeah, it's going to be like 35 to 40 degrees in Nashville.
I'm going by the thing that the Tennessee defense is not as good as people are talking about it as it is. Just the raw numbers and the way they've played suggest that way. They do not play
I'm not
well
gonna. I'm not
when they
gonna
get
say
spread
they.
the field against
Yeah,
them. They don't have enough
yeah,
corners. They
I
don't have
agree.
have safeties. Nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're a little bit
I
overrated.
admit the Titans' defense isn't as good as
They're a
advertised,
little overrated. I mean,
but
yeah.
they're clutch. They stop teams when they have to, with exception to Houston and Pittsburgh. They stop teams when they have to. They bend but don't break, and that's what they need versus the Saints.
You have to admit they've had a pretty lax schedule, dude.
I wouldn't say a relaxed schedule. They played the AFC North.
But when they played them is how bad it was. Yes, they lost to Cincinnati, but
They lost to Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, but they beat Baltimore and Cleveland.
They beat Baltimore when they were still trying to figure out who they were, and Denver before they had Tebow and they were having
They
Horton
beat
throwing picks.
Baltimore a week after Baltimore killed Pittsburgh.
They were still trying to look at the record. They were still trying to figure out who they were.
It was the second game of the year. Either way, Tennessee won that game. All I'm saying is Tennessee plays clutch when they need to. And this is one of those times that Captain Baldy, Hasselback, is going to come out and lead the troops down the field and be well prepared versus the Saints team that hadn't had a lot of luck versus the Tennessee Titans ever.
Just
I think I smell a wager. You
two can go ahead.
I think I smell Slegna giving his prediction. Hurry up, Slegna.
I was waiting for you guys to finish up. Let's see, I have some stats here. Matt Hasselbeck hasn't been throwing very well. I know you were saying, Matt Hasselbeck's been throwing well and whatnot. He hasn't topped more than 160 yards the past 3 weeks. He hasn't thrown more than one touchdown the past 4 weeks.
That's fine. Chris Johnson's running.
I know. Chris Johnson's picked up the slack, but you were really, saying Matt Hasselbeck's done this and that, but Matt Hasselbeck really hasn't.
Well, I mean, he makes throws when he has to.
Yeah, for 124 yards against Atlanta, for 140 against a horrible Buffalo defense.
Hey, as long as we win, I don't care how many yards he throws for.
Yeah, fair enough. But I don't think Hasselbeck's been playing well, but not great, even to warrant a mention here. He's been mediocre.
He's better than Vince Young. We'll say that.
Well, he hasn't. Yes, I guess you have a point there because Hasselbeck hasn't thrown 4 interceptions in a game so far this season. The Saints have outscored everybody, almost everybody, all season long. I think the Saints take this one, even though it is in Nashville. The Saints play really well. Even away, they're 3-3 away. Who were their wins against while they were playing? Let's see. They beat Jacksonville at home. They beat Carolina at home, and they also beat Atlanta in the Georgia Dome.
Ooh, that's impressive.
It's not horrible though.
The Georgia Dome is tough to play in.
Exactly. I know Tennessee did not play well in Georgia. Well, Jake Locker played well, but that's because Jake Locker is the future Jesus.
Jake Locker rules. I'm just pointing out there. But I kind of have a homer bias there, I guess I would say. But the Saints win this one. Saints outscore a lot of teams. I think they're first or second in the league in scoring. Even in their 3 losses, they put up 34 against Green Bay. I mean, we know the Green Bay defense isn't very good. 20 against Tampa Bay and 21 against St. Louis. So they'll put up decent mid-20s, even 30s numbers here. And Tennessee's just not going to be able to keep up, even with Chris Johnson running the way he is lately. I don't know if it's going to be 2 or 3 touchdowns, but it'll be up there. Why don't I go 35-21? So like I said, it's 2 touchdowns, but I just don't see it being anything less than that, the way the Saints have been playing lately.
Yeah, I can see all your points are all valid. The Saints have a really good offense. And And, you know, Tennessee's going to have to step up and nut up and play in order to keep up with them. But, you know, it's one of the, it's almost, I'm not going to say, even though they have a better winning percentage than Seattle does, it's not the same as Seattle's home field advantage in Quest Field or whatever the hell it's called now. But it's like that. I mean, playing at LP Field is a hard stadium to play at. If you've ever been there, if you're not a fan of the Titans, it's physically intimidating. I mean, I've met fans that have went to preseason games and have been scared to stand up when their team does something good. You know, drunk ass rednecks. You don't want to piss them off, apparently. You know, and like I said, the Saints very well could win this game. And by all means, they should. They're a more talented team. They're more experienced with their coaching staff. And I don't know. I just, Hasselbeck has done, he's brought the team together as a leader and made them a different ball team. I mean, Vince Young had a lot of talent, but not a lot of smarts. Whereas Hasselbeck has a lot of smarts, but his talent's kind of going downhill. Either way, I'd like to think that Tennessee has a great chance to win this game, and I hope they do. Just because it would be nice to see the Titans get back in the playoffs. But we'll move on from that. We're not going to cover any more NFL games because, quite frankly, all of the rest of the NFL games suck more dick than Jenna Jameson. That being said, we're
Not
going to
even
move.
Monday night.
No, we're not covering the Monday night game. Anyways, that being said, we are going to move on. There's quite a few changes that have happened in the landscape of college football. Cue somebody singing changes. Close enough. So far, we've had Rich Rod go to the University of Arizona, which we talked about. Mike Leach went to Washington State, which I believe we also talked about. I don't know if it got posted or not, but we talked about it.
Didn't get posted.
We also have Hugh Freeze going to the University of Mississippi. We have Larry Fedora going to North Carolina, which could be an interesting fit. And now there's rumors that Mario Cristobal from Florida International University could possibly be on the move as well to some of the open vacancies. Also,
And
Dan
also, yeah. I mean, I didn't know if you were going to mention Dan Mullen, but on Bulldog Radio, there was actually they're still talking the crap about Mullen possibly at Penn State, but he's shot it down numerous times. So you know,
he shot it down, but Dan Mullen is professional enough not to talk about it until after the season. So if he does go to Penn State, it will be sometime after the music
New
season.
Year. Yeah.
He'll announce it sometime after that, you know.
Yeah, but he actually had like media members removed from his press conference because he has a strict rule. Like he only talks about the previous game and the upcoming week's game. And the same media guys have been asking him about other coaching jobs. And after telling him no several times, he actually had the media members removed from his press conference that kept asking him that nonsense. So, I mean, I think he's going to stay in Starkville, man.
Well, let's be fair and let's take the bias out of it. Just throw the bias completely out the window.
Yeah, Penn State's a better coaching job by far.
It is.
But I honestly believe that he believes that he can win in Starkville. And the people in Starkville, they believe in Dan Mullen. Like, you don't understand. Like,
no, I do understand. I understand completely because at one point in time, as I've mentioned several times, I live right next to Middle Tennessee State University, and you know we believe in Rick Stockstill. Even though he has up and down seasons, we still believe in Rick Stockstill because he has the ability to make the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raider football team very dynamic in the near future. I understand completely. I just think the thing is it's going to be so hard for Mississippi State to get better because they don't have a big time recruiting budget.
True, true. And it's so hard to recruit. We got 3 major conference schools in the state, and the state's not that big. It's not exactly a football mecca warehouse like Texas.
No.
So, I mean, it's tough
Well,
to recruit.
and on top of that, you also got to think Mississippi State is. I'm trying to think of the best word for that. Mississippi State isn't what you think of when you think of SEC football. You think of
Yeah,
Alabama,
it's true. I mean,
or
that's
you
a
think
very
of
true story.
Georgia,
LSU, people like
LSU.
that.
You don't think of Florida as much. You might make a play for Tennessee here and there. They've had
But
some success, but
but also, I don't think he'll get the job security. Like, the job security he has at Mississippi State right now, I don't think he'll get anywhere else. I mean,
yeah,
he can literally stay Mississippi State. I mean, the people, they loved him. He could literally stay the Mississippi State coach for the next 10, 15 years. I mean, that's how much the president of the university, the fan base. I mean, if you drive into the state of Mississippi, the first thing you see coming in from, I know the Louisiana side where I'm from, and also going from the Alabama side, you see a big ass Mississippi State sign with Dan Mullen's face on it saying, "Welcome to our state," with a big M in the background. Mississippi State, advertising. But, I mean, the state of Mississippi as a whole has really fallen behind Dan Mullen, and I don't think he'll get that kind of love and, like I said, job security anywhere else. Like, I think it'd be hard pressed for him to leave. I mean,
yeah. Well,
I don't know.
it would be hard for him to follow Joe Pa,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
the Big Ten, especially in the division they're in. I mean, I know they got Wisconsin, who's always tough, and I believe they have Ohio State as well. I mean, and they're always tough, but those teams aren't Alabama, LSU, and Arkansas. And I think right now it's hard because I mean, outside of Dan Mullen, no other name has even. Well, I take that back. Dan Mullen was mentioned, and so was
Tony
Mike
Dungy,
Munchak.
huh?
Mike Munchak and Tony Dungy have all been mentioned as potential candidates for the job. And Munchak, I don't think Munchak's going anywhere. He's been the Titans assistant for 13 years, and it would be weird for him to go anywhere. Dan Mullen has got a pretty good contract at Mississippi State, but I think this year has shown Dan Mullen it's going to be extremely difficult to win at Mississippi State because Mississippi State was supposed to be, and Andrew and I talked about this beginning of the year, Mississippi State could have contended for a BCS Bowl with the talent they had.
Well, yeah, but I think our biggest issue was honestly our offense. I mean, it all, you know what? Like, our season went downhill when we came up. It was honestly bad play calling, I think, on our offensive side of the ball. I think a lot of our guys just kind of lost hope when we lost to Auburn, and then the following week we lost to LSU, and then we went to overtime with Louisiana Tech. I mean, I think it was just, and then they removed.
May I jump in here? I don't want to get into a big, long spout about what win and loss record of Mississippi State, when the fact is, if you have a chance to get out of that side of that conference right now, and you're a head coach and you're not in the top 3 teams, you get out.
I think
that's
the thing is,
the big thing. I understand your liking of the team, and it's your team. I understand that. And I don't advocate for coaches just to jump up and leave. That's not what I'm saying here. The thing is if he has a chance to go into a program that has a stout tradition, has players that he can win with, in a division that he can win in, and make more money,
True.
and he's not going to get a chance to get out of there at any other time. If his name is high right now and to leave, and he has a chance to go there in this situation, he will never have a moment in that situation like that
I
where he
agree.
goes to a program that has all this tradition but a low bar like he has right now.
But I mean, I don't think it's gonna be really hard to recruit for Penn State.
No, it's not.
Well,
Penn State's easy to.
Now it's easy. Now it's easy.
Just promise not to shower with the boys, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, it's basically the whole point of going to Penn State right now is that players, the people of that state, love that team.
Yeah,
and
but
Pennsylvania
the future of Penn State football is up in the air right now. You don't know what kind of levitation. I mean, you don't know what kind of. This is the way
has already. NCAA has already came out and said this is not a football matter.
Yeah, but we don't know yet. Like, for what they know right now, but you don't know what else is going to come out of the woodworks from this shit.
You never know that about any school. Like, if you can say that about
Yeah.
every school in the nation. The thing is, this is all a federal matter. It has nothing to do with the players or anybody being docked of being given money for anything or anything like that. So the NCAA cannot touch this. People saying that the school wanted to lever down things. The school could have levered down and they're not going to bowl games and stuff. And they've come out and said they're not doing that. So obviously, it's nothing's going to happen to the school itself. It's only the people that were involved, and obviously they're not going to be there anymore. So you have a coach that's a really good coach that's in a division where you cannot recruit and win because they're adding Texas A&M to it. Why wouldn't you take a look at this and try to push everything away, going, let's get through the bowl season so I can get out of here?
Yeah, and like I said last time when we talked about Dan Mullen, I honestly think that Dan Mullen had his best chance to win with Chris Relf. Because Chris Relf was awesome last year. And he
Yeah.
started to come into his own this year, and I thought that was his best chance. And, you know, if I'm Dan Mullen and Penn State comes up to me, I have to take the job. Because really, truthfully, and don't get me wrong, I respect Mississippi State's history and heritage, but
That's why.
Mississippi State is a job for two coaches. It's either a job for coaches that were once great and need a rehab job, like Lou Holtz did with South Carolina,
Or Jackie Sherrill did when he came.
or Jackie Sherrill, or it's a job for young upcoming coaches that want to make a name for themselves. And I think if Dan Mullen leaves and goes to Penn State, Mario Cristobal falls into Mississippi State, and to me, that's a better situation. With Cristobal versus Freeze in Mississippi,
Yeah.
holy fucking hell, that would be the game of all games.
That's actually a brilliant idea, honestly. And this is not to say anything bad about Mississippi State. I have nothing against Mississippi State. Mississippi State has a great program. It's just that the situation with the BCS stuff and the SEC doing what it's doing right now, basically it's trying to build for having 3 or 4 teams at one time being great, and then everyone else take the turn. And they have those teams like Vanderbilt in there. And Tennessee's almost back, but they were a while they're one of the doormats. And Florida's in the middle right now. They're having all these teams that people can beat up on. They're adding Missouri, who thinks they're going to get great things there, but doesn't have a long tradition. Therefore, you can't think they're going to keep this up in a stacked conference. The SEC could end up pricing itself into a situation where they have teams all the time with one loss in their conference, and not every year that's going to work. And sooner or later, we're going to find that out. You can't put all the great teams in one conference.
What do you think, Andrew? What do you think about the coaching vacancies in the NCAA?
I think Morn had a great point with, Dan Mullen right now is coaching a team that is in a conference that is perennially stacked, and Mississippi State, quite frankly, just is not one of those premier programs in the SEC. We know that there is a rotating door. Tennessee has some good years occasionally. There's Alabama, LSU, Auburn, and such. But Mississippi State really has never been one of those teams. And Dan Mullen can progress his own career by getting out of there, whether that turns out to be Penn State or not. And like you said, Seth, if someone offers me a job to go coach at Penn State, I drop what I'm doing right then and take it. So I don't know if the job has to be Penn State though, but if it's offered, Dan Mullen should go. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and like I said, I really do think that Mississippi State's the perfect job for a coach trying to make a name. And that's what Dan Mullen was at one point in time. He was a coach from Florida, and he was trying to make a name for himself, and he's done that. And, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with Penn State. We don't know where they're going to go, where they're going from here, if they're even going to be able to. I mean, they may get sanctioned by the NCAA. We don't know. Then again, we don't know if the NCAA is going to sanction Mississippi State for the whole Cam Newton situation. Even though
At this
Mississippi
point,
State,
it seems very unlikely.
it seems unlikely, but the NCAA is more unpredictable than a fucking woman sometimes.
Well, I agree. I'm just saying, if Dan Mullen's leaving Mississippi State purely for the reason to escape NCAA sanctions, that's a stupid reason because.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I wasn't saying
I hate
that.
y'all. I hate every one of y'all. Y'all are making my night worse. Putting these terrible thoughts in my head that Dan Mullen is leaving Mississippi State.
Hey, look at the bright side. If Dan Mullen leaves Mississippi State, I'll go turn in my resume to coach there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I will lead Mississippi State to the promised land.
No, Mississippi State's team next year. I mean, Tyler Russell is coming. He's gonna be like a 4th-year player. I mean, we're gonna be a pretty decent squad. I mean, we're supposed to be pretty decent this year, but God, no, we just didn't play up to where we should have been. And Ralph got benched. I don't think Ralph's Hort was in it most of the season. I know we can do it, and Dan Mullen knows we can do it, and I think he's not going to leave.
I think you hope that he doesn't leave.
You know what I'd rather be? If I was a coach, I'd rather be a guy that went to a program and led them to the promised land. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to follow in Joe Pa's footsteps. I mean, God, dog, you know how epic that is? But then again, who really wants to be the guy that follows Joe Pa? Like, all right, say if I knew my dad and he was a lawyer and I was trying to be a lawyer and he was the best fucking lawyer in the United States, would I really want to just be like, okay, I'm going to be a lawyer? No, I mean, I wouldn't want that because, I mean, it's a hard shadow to be in. I just don't know if Dan or any coach really would really want to follow Joe Pa's enormous shadow for his entire career. You know, people expect certain things from Penn State. And Joe Pa did. I mean, Joe Pa, he didn't win a lot of championships, but he was Joe Pa. You know, he's a fucking legend. When you say the name Joe Pa in college football, people automatically know, like, oh, I know this. You know, that's just a tough shadow to be in, and I don't know if Dan Mullen wants that. Dan Mullen's a young coach, and I think the kind of person he is, he'd rather build his own legacy as opposed to following in the footsteps of somebody else. That's just what I'm hoping he's thinking, and honestly, what I think he's thinking. So,
yeah. I mean, I could see that, but I'm gonna say this, and then we'll move on. We all are aware that money talks. Money talks more than anything else, and if Penn State can pay more to Dan Mullen than Mississippi State can, I think Dan Mullen would have to do what's best for his family. That's the way I see it. You know,
Penn State don't even have sweet tea. Mississippi State, we have sweet tea.
you
And we
also
have the
have
best damn ice cream.
you also have fucking inbreeding. That's beside the point.
Hey,
You know
what Pittsburgh has? Cheesesteaks. I like cheesesteaks more than I like sweet tea.
Well, guess what? I like sweet tea and good old Southern fried chicken and mashed potatoes and turnip greens. And you know what Mississippi State has? Mississippi State has the best damn dairy in the nation. Like, we make our own cheese and dairy products on campus. True story.
Huh. Would I rather have cheese or $1 million recruiting budget? That's a hard one, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Hey, cheese is awesome. Dairy, ice cream, fresh ice cream. Come on, man.
If you say so.
Yeah, I'm trying to persuade myself.
You're trying to convince yourself that Dan Mullen isn't gonna leave, and there's a chance he might not leave, but you're giving yourself false bravado right now.
If he leaves, I'll give up football, college football.
Bullshit, because I'm gonna go take Mississippi State to the promised land. No joke. I legit sent my resume to Memphis the other day. I'm not even playing. I've done that to a couple of programs.
What? Have you ever got a reply?
No, never. but I always send it like every single year when
Try
there's.
Arkansas
One of these
State.
days you will, Seth, and it will be the most awesome moment of your life.
Fucking right.
It will. Well, no, I don't know if I know I told Andrew, but when my team went onto the field at halftime for the MTSU game, I told the MTSU athletic director if you ever have a job opening to give me a call. And that week, the offensive coordinator got fired for having a DUI arrest. But I never got a phone call. I was like, son of a bitch. I just thought it was funny that he got fired right
Call
after.
Arkansas State, man. I hear they're looking for a coach.
Shit, man. I'd take anything at this point. I don't care.
Fucking
Ball
right.
boy.
I mean, do you know how
The guy
awesome
who
that
holds
would
the
be?
cord.
Do what?
The guy who
You know how
holds the
awesome?
cord.
Oh, the court. Do you know how awesome that'd be, though? Be a
Yeah,
college
well-
football coach?
Well,
I know you're gonna need a lawyer, so hey, you know.
You know how stressful being a football coach and any Kappa level really is. How many hours it takes to be successful?
A lot.
can't be any more hours than I spend now trying to be successful.
Okay, awkward silence. Let's move on.
Oh no, seriously, ask Andrew how many times during the off season I legit sit there. Ooh, head football coach, Coffeyville Community College, right here. Responsibilities include da 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 da. Requirements. Just gotta have a bachelor's degree. That's it.
I could see, you know what I could see? I could see Omega being the football coach, and then I'm gonna open up the newspaper down here and look, and then I'm going online and looking at Tennessee newspaper. I'm gonna say, let me see how Omega's team's doing, and he's gonna read on the front page. College football coach busted with freaking a pound of pot in his car or something. I'm gonna be like, that's fucking Omega. And he's gonna have purple hair. He's gonna have purple hair on the front page in his mugshot. Pink hair, I'm sorry. Was it pink hair? Yeah, pink hair. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, we're going to cover one last game before we end our recording. We're going to do a BCS special show starting next week, or a bowl special show starting next week.
I'm surprised we didn't talk about the BCS.
The
Yeah.
BSC?
I am disillusioned with the BCS right now, and I could not give two shits.
Well, honestly, we're going to wait for a week and let everybody cool down for a minute before they give their opinions.
I'm not going to cool down in a week. You know that by now, right?
I'm pretty excited. I mean, I think it's the best matchup.
I'm sure when it was announced, you like.
When
just-
is Mississippi State in the BCS game?
Man, fuck you.
When they had Cam Newton. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I'm just wondering why you're rooting for your rivals. I don't understand that one bit.
I'm not rooting for my rivals.
It'd be like if me going over to a bar and saying I'm gonna root for Oregon because in the Rose Bowl.
Listen to this. When the SEC has an all SEC championship, there's this thing called revenue sharing, and Mississippi State's gonna get a large chunk of it, and it helps our athletic facilities greatly.
Athletic facilities,
Athletic facilities. It helps my team's athletic facilities.
but you should
Balls
also would be fucking the.
Balls
Anyway,
deep.
check this out. Also, if you didn't know me, if you didn't know anything about me, you need to know that I despise LSU.
That's
And if
what I'm saying.
LSU's automatically going to be in the national title, even though I also hate Alabama, I absolutely despise LSU. So it's going to make me feel really good when I'm in this part of Louisiana and I can go to work the following day after the championship and be like, yeah, you fucking suck, you bitches. Bama got in that ass. And that's the only time I'm going to be a Bama fan. But it's going to feel really good telling these LSU fans around these sports to suck my dick and die, bitch. I might get fired from my job, but I don't care. Even though the job don't fucking pay, like I said, it's a non-paid internship, but I don't care. They're all on LSU.
Bama got up in that ass.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
I'm be like, hey, what
I
does
guess
LSU
it could
in
be
your
worse.
place?
You could be a fucking Ohio State fan. Penn State go to a BCS bowl and you say, Penn State get all up in that ass. And then we'll be right back to square one. Still making Penn State jokes. Anyways, back to something with a little bit more class than we're showing right now. The Army versus Navy game in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this is truly a game.
And Seth is having an absolute orgasm over both option offenses right now.
No,
I think Army.
It's not just that. the game itself, when you look at it from a whole standpoint, it's the beauty of what once was college football. Before there was money, before there was publicity, there was this. There was two football teams that hated one another. They wanted to legit whoop each other's ass. On top of that, not only was there that, but there was, these boys don't get to go to the NFL. There's no pro football for these kids. When these kids get done at Army and Navy, a lot of them go to war. They don't get a chance to go play in the NFL for millions of dollars and bust. I mean, these boys, when they're done, they go, they sacrifice their life to keep the country free and this, that, and the other. It's beautiful because when you look back at the history of college football back in the 1940s, it was the same way. Kids would leave Notre Dame after they got done and they'd go in the military, or they would leave a school like Alabama or Texas A&M or one of those schools that still played football back then, and they'd go fight these wars. And, you know, it's almost something that we kind of take for granted. And it's good to see these kids get their own little moment. I mean, it's emotionally touching for me. I've had several family members in the military. I've had several friends in the military. I mean, it just, to me, it's emotional. If you can sit through the opening presentation of the Army and Navy game and not feel something, then you're a fucking terrorist. Just straight up. Because that is probably the most emotional, touching moment outside of watching the Christmas Story all day on Christmas Eve that you can
Yeah, I
have.
love the Christmas Story. I thought I was the only one.
I mean, it's just, I mean, honestly, it's just one of those nostalgic feelings. And the option offenses are gold. I mean, you know, you talked about the option offenses and how orgasmic they can be. When they're run right, they're very cool. It's cool to see these kids go to work because a lot of these kids are not your typical high school athletes. A lot of them are just kids that wanted to say, hey, let's bust some heads while we're up at West Point. You know, so I think it's going to be good and interesting for the, God, I hate you, Morn, so much for making me read that.
What?
I thought it was funny.
It's
the
funny,
truth, though.
but
It's also the truth. You know a Philly fan would say that. I have no 100% confirmed almost that they would say that to a former Army player.
yeah, well, anyways.
For those of you listening, what they're referring to was the Philly fan being a dick and telling a
As
former
usual.
Army guy who missed the pass, you should have re-enlisted. But tish.
Anyways, what? No, the option offenses, I mean, they're both traditional offenses, even though Brad Nessler's covering the game, he's going to say, this is a spread offense, and it's really not. My bold prediction for this game, a team that runs the triple option will win it.
I think Army will come out on top. I'm going to be honest, though. The main reason I'm going to look at the game is the beginning ceremony.
Yeah.
I mean, I might not even watch the game itself, but the beginning ceremony, if that don't get to you, as far as I'm concerned, you're un-American.
Go ahead.
Is that it? Or is somebody
No,
else doing the statement?
go ahead and say your little closing statement of Selena. Go ahead. I want to hear
Or-
your closing thoughts.
I don't have any closing thoughts.
Of course you don't. You can't handle the truth. Go ahead, Morn.
So, Tennessee could win the game this week because they have a former Seattle Seahawks head coach. No, because it's a quarterback. And, yeah, I kind of forgot about that. And I want to remind the Saint fan, listening to this right this second to, remember last January where, an earthquake happened in Seattle and it was all because we couldn't tackle. And I'm sorry about Chris Paul too. I really, really sorry about Chris Paul.
Hey, I don't like the Hornets.
Oh, so you like your own team. Got it.
No, I'm a
And-
LeBron fan.
Oh, so you're a player fan, not a team fan.
No, I could care less about the NBA. I just really like LeBron.
I bet you do.
Thank you, AJ
LeBron's
fan.
a tool.
I'm not black. Why would I care about the NBA?
Thank you, AJ fan. Now, but really though, I'm really really sorry about your college football team. I mean, it's really sad that you may be losing your head coach, and you're in a very stacked division in a very 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 overrated conference.
Are you trying? Are you trying to make me commit suicide tonight more? I mean, it seems
If
like
you
you're
wait,
trying to make me sad.
hold up.
I didn't interrupt your closing statement.
If you die, can I have your wife?
And somebody's got to have her. Fucking. Never mind. Somebody's cancel that. Somebody's got to have her.
Goddamn.
See, there are more intelligent ways of getting back at people than to spout back with racial retones. So, thank you.
I'm
My
sorry,
closing
Miss
statement.
Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry when I shot that semen in her eye. Oh shit.